All right, I wanted to build a Nautilus submarine model, but not this one. But before I explain that, the reason I wanted to build a Nautilus submarine was as a tribute to Chris Cortel. Chris Cortel passed away about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and he was a YouTube modeler that had a fantastic YouTube channel called Classic Plastic 101. And when I got into watching YouTube videos of modeling, because want to get back into it, his was by far the most common one I ran into whenever I started doing searches for particular topics, because not only was he a great modeler and did every type of model available out there, he did sci-fi cars, ships, planes, you name it, anyhow. But again, he was really good at giving instruction to others on how to do things that he had perfected, things he had tried, things that work, don't work, and all that stuff. So he was a really great resource for modelers. So anyhow, I thought people were building creating tribute videos, and I thought it was high time I did, especially when I realized we were coming just past a year of his passing. And before I go into this, I should say that for some reason, I don't know why, all his YouTube videos were taken down. The Classic Plastic 101 YouTube channel just disappeared. But thankfully, others have saved those videos and continue to republish them. So if you look for the Classic Plastic 101 Hangout, which is been set up by Kenny from Moonwalker Models, you'll see that he's reposted many of those videos and continues to put more up there as he has the time. So I'm not sure if he had the access to the original sources or if he actually downloaded them when they were coming up and he made his own archive. But Chris Cortel lives on at the Classic Plastic 101 Hangout, and I do recommend you check out those videos. So now, again, I decided I want to build a Nautilus, a classic Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne, and read the book, seen the movie, or the original movie, I should say. And I picked up this kit about 15 years ago, and it was $5. I think it was Walmart, believe it or not. And it's a really odd kit because it's obviously not, the Nautilus we know and love, the the alligator design, if you want to call it that, the one that was used in the original Disney movie, and ever used as the prototype ever since. That fits the description in the book. But this was a weird looking one, and I still, I said, as strange as it looks, I still, I'll pick it up anyhow. I'd like to build this one. But the funny thing was, when I start creating these videos, I do a little research into, whatever car, plane, or whatever. And this one was really weird because, never seen this thing before. So as I was looking through old box art and the provenance of the kit, I realized that it was originally came out as a Crayola kids box around 1997, which was really strange. But the box hinted that there was like a picture on it that said 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea submarine, which this one obviously does not, which again, it's strange. But I found out, all right, there was a movie or something that came out in 1997, and it was the model supported that kid show, for lack of a better word. But then as I tried to find information about this, seeing if it was a movie or not, went to IMDb and did searches and stuff like that, I realized that there were 3 titles with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea that came out in 1997, believe it or not. One was this kid program, from Crayola. And then there was another one that was a Richard Crenna movie, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I'd never heard about. And even a Michael Caine, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, all 1997. So it was really odd, but I found on YouTube the original kid show, if you want to call it that, and sure enough, it had this in CGI, some lousy CGI, even for the time, I would say. But it was a kid show. I didn't have really that much interest. But as it so happens, I was more curious about the other movies. And sure enough, I looked on YouTube, and the Richard Crenna movie, you know, full feature-length movie, was also on YouTube. And I looked at that. And then I saw that basically the kids show that used the CGI for this and the Richard Crenna movie used the CGI for this. Basically, I'm not sure what the order was, but they made probably the Richard Crenna movie, and then they said, well, let's turn it into this Crayola kids special where the kids are acting out the part. It was like an hour-long show, which is like 45 minutes on real-time video. But it was very fascinating to find this. It's not a great movie. It does have this in somewhat okay CGI. A few cool scenes. It's decent enough as a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea if you've never seen the other movies. But again, very strange. So I do have the links in the notes for all of that stuff I mentioned. Check it out if you want to. The Richard Crenna one is okay. But now let's get on to the kit. So when I saw this kit in the store, I said, oh, I got possibilities here, lighting it up with the portals and things like that. And it's a fairly big kit. It's supposed to come with 3 non-toxic paints, brush, and things like that. And if you look on the back, you'll see that there's actually like a cutout that you can use if you want to use it as, the back display part. And but all fine and dandy, but what really interested me was this. It has basically a section that's all open with a fancy room, vintage Victorian era furniture, steampunk stuff, and it's got a base, so I can probably put a battery in there to light it all up and things like that. So I did open it up way back then, but let's see what's in the kit now. So here's the non-toxic paint. I guess you have to pay extra for toxic stuff, but it's all dried up, probably dried up 10 years ago. Anyhow, garbage. The instruction kit is, here it says 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, interesting enough. A bit of Jules Verne's time, and it's a fairly simple kit. Not too many, as can be expected. It's a big kit, but not too many parts. These are all the sprues, really, and you got, 2 hulls with the clear that I'll be lighting up, and, that room with furniture and things like that. It looks like it comes in 2 pieces, and that's pretty much it. The rest is just like fins and things like that. So not too complicated. The effort for me will be making the putting in some electronics, but even that, it shouldn't be too tough. I figure just a few LEDs. So if I'm going to take a quick look at the rest here. Oh, here's the clear. Oh, here's a now useless brush, which wasn't great to begin with, and not decals but stickers. So I probably won't be using these. I mean, I can probably print out something that looks better and put it with Mod Podge if I want to. Maybe the bookshelves I'll use. I don't know. I'll take a look at that, but not too concerned. And again, the parts themselves, I'm not sure. This looks like it's part of the room here, or one of the rooms. Maybe there's 2. And this is the main room. Now this thing, unfortunately, it's all kind of pre-built, which I don't like. I would have preferred if I had, can build them separately and do a better paint job, but I'll try to do as, the best I can with this and just, paint it as is. And I can see that I can maybe add some LEDs over here like that with those portholes or round circles, girders, and things like that. So I'll see if I can do that. And the rest is just one giant hull and a base. It's pretty decent. I mean, it's raised rivets and things like that. So hopefully I can get a nice paint job out of that. And again, the other side of the hull with the fins and things like that. So, and a table and a propeller, really. Oh, and an organ, because you have to have an organ if it's Jules Verne, Captain Nemo's organ there. So that's the kit. That's the history in tribute to Chris Cortel. Let's get building. Okay, update time. Before I talk about the Nautilus, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Steve from the Model Car Minion. I met up with him the other day, and he had some stickers that I hope I can use on the paddy wagon, these police over here, just to spruce it up a bit. Hopefully by the end of this video, I might have a shot with these stickers on the paddy wagon. But let's get back to the Nautilus now. And as you can see, I've got some electronics, but before I talk about that, I want to talk about the stickers. As I mentioned, I don't want to use these stickers because they're stickers and they're not decals. And what I'm worried about is over time they're going to start peeling off and they won't stick. And you know, once that starts peeling off in the back of the model, you can't get back at them. So what I want to do is replace the critical ones over here, like the carpet, the bookshelves, and the portrait, and this water thing. I'm not even sure what it is, like a tub or something like that. That's in the room over there. And what I want to do is, I've gotten, Inkscape. I downloaded a bunch of images. I made a template for all the sizes, the exact sizes, even the cutout corners and stuff like that. And I made a template of the size I need as per these stickers. And what I've done is I took some images online and I created a bunch of sets that I can put on a piece of paper and then print them out. Now I'm kind of worried I might have the same issue like before when I tried to do the dash on the Mirage 3 where they come out too dark. But I'm going to give it a try. So hopefully you'll have an update in the next segment for that once I get them printed out. Now, I did a lot of sanding and actually not sanding, but cleaning up all the parts. There was a lot of cleanup to be done, to be quite frank. And then I looked at see if there's anything that really needed some putting before, right at the beginning. And this is basically the main body over here. And one area that you really do have to be careful of, and you're gonna have to putty it. If not, it looks really terrible. Is these giant fins over here? There's a huge gap because this really touches on the bottom but not on the top, so it creates this gap like you can't get away from it. Anyhow, I did a few shots of putty sand, and I think I'm almost there where I'm really happy with it, and that should be the main piece that needed it. Now you can see one thing I noticed is as you're building this, usually you try to build everything and then paint at the end. Not quite the case over here because I'm going to be including some electronics, and I don't want to try to have to go against all these portals and windows and this opening here and mask everything off because they're all circular, they're inside and stuff like that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a shot of paint with the intent that I'll go back later on, and when I finally glue this together and clean up this main seam line, I'll probably have to go back and repaint that. So that's the plan anyhow. So the electronics, I think I mentioned I wanted to add some electronics in here, and I drew some quick circuits to see how I'm going to light this up. And then what you always have to do is try to breadboard them and test it out, because the voltages for the LEDs, they're not exact, and you want to see what kind of intensity you get when you pump, current through it. And, they have, nominal ratings or maximum ratings for current, and you play around with the resistors. Anyhow, I'm not going to go through all of that. If you want to see the actual calculations I made, go back to my Titanic. I pretty much explain how it's done when you have LEDs and how do you figure out what the resistors are based on the voltage and the voltage drops of the LEDs and how much current you want to put through them. So what I tried to do is try to get 20 milliamps through each of these, which is the nominal one, or less if need, if that's the case where you can get away with it. And that was the case. You can see here, I'm going to light it up, and you can see that some of these are very bright, and actually I'm only running like 9 milliamps through this one over here. These are two in series, because they take a smaller voltage, where these are larger voltage. By the way, I'm running this off a 6-volt DC adapter, which, as people who know adapters know, you're really not getting 6 volts at all. You do have to measure it, and this is the adapter I tend to use with this. So I mocked everything up. Now I saw I was happy with the blue, the reds, the yellows, but I really wasn't happy with the green, and I said, what can I do to rectify that? And I had an idea, and you'll see over here what I can do is I show you what I did. And you can see that this green is a lot brighter than these, even though there's actually more current going through these. And the reason is that these are not green LEDs. These are actually white LEDs because they're so much brighter. What I did was I took the Tamiya Clear and put it over that, and it looks so much better. And what I also did was I did a layout of where I want to have all the different lights. Like you got the headlights, as in the movie, the headlights are bright green shining, so I wanted those ones for that. And then I said I want to light up the room. I'm probably going to use white for that. And then I wanted some blues on the side and some yellows or reds on this side over here, because they don't have those portals on this side because it's got the room. And then you had the room that has that orb in it. So I said, well, what can I do with that orb that I also want to light up? And then I created this little circuit over here. And what this is a circuit that throbs. The LED throbs over here. And you can see I can actually adjust the throbbing motion a bit by putting a potentiometer over here. And I've got some play in there. You can see how I can slow it down and speed it up. And it looks almost like a heartbeat. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's a small circuit, one transistor, one IC, capacitor, resistors, and things like that. And then I added this to, make it variable. Because again, over time, these things will change, and I want to make sure I can tune it just before I put it in the model. So I'm going to put this on, copper board for all of this over here, and then start wiring it up over here. The other thing I have to worry about is these side lights. This one in particular, it goes right into where the room is. There's, when you put the clear plastic over here, it's just open up to the room. So I'm going to have to block that off. So I took this tube, and it's pretty much the same diameter that I have over here, and I'll do it on both sides, where I'll encase the LED in this, chop it off, block off one end, so that that light doesn't shine back into the room. And what I'm going to do for the white light in the room itself, I'm going to sand it so it's actually not a smooth surface but a rough surface, and that dissipates the light a little bit better across the room, and make it flat on top, and then have it just puncture 2 holes where I need it for this part of the room, and on both sides. And then this over here will be where that orb is, the throbbing orb will be on that side. So making progress, not actual build, but getting some of the hard stuff out of the way. And the next time I should have it primed and start putting pieces together. And again, I'm going to see what I'm going to do to paint this room. It's going to be tough. I saw somebody else that actually, lopped off a piece. And this, the way it goes, this slides in over here. So this is actually the bottom of that room. See, this is the wall over here. Actually, I'm going to put another painting on that wall. And so what I can do is, for the time being, because it's going to snap in place, I can open it up a bit more over here so I can get in with my brush once I have it primed, and start painting things a little easier that way. And the only other thing I have to mention is that I'm going to have an adapter. So I've got this adapter plug, and I'm going to have to fit it somewhere on this base. And I think I'm gonna probably make some sort of a hole over here on this side, and it should stick out under there, pass the wires through there. And again, the circuit board, lots of room in here for that. Maybe under the room itself. I'll see how I can fit that in. So doesn't look like much, but I've actually done a lot. Okay, let the fun continue. And I have been having fun with a little bit of sarcasm in there. So the good news is I did prime everything. Came out nice. Basically I used the dark green prime for everything over here. So, but all the parts are primed, should be good. And go on to the next stage. Now, I mentioned last time I created that template, and then I took, the images online that I can use, and then, making cutouts with the template in the software itself, Inkscape. And these seem to be usable. Again, I got some light ones and dark ones just in case, because I wasn't too sure what I was going to use for the, the colors of the floor and the walls and things like that. Some of it has been settled, but these should be usable. So that's the good news. One of them is actually a little, the classic Nautilus that I plan to use, maybe in the backdrop of one of the walls. Anyhow. Moving on, I made some changes to the electronics. Now, I think last time I mentioned I had a 6-volt battery, and that was fine. Everything was working. You saw it there in the video. But then I said, I've got some other projects, some other models that use, 12-volt power system, and I should try to be a little more consistent. So I said, let's go to a 12-volt one, because they all have these types of adapters that have these types of plugs. So I recalculated a few things, built a prototype, had a few issues with the prototype, but finally got it working. And as a matter of fact, you can see it here if I can just get the adapter plugged in. There you go. Again, made some changes to the resistors, a little dimmer on this one, and there's the throbbing LED working fine. But one thing that kind of nearly ruined everything was, the adapter for this is a 12-volt DC adapter. Now you have to, you have to look at the voltage when you look at the adapter. You have to see if some are AC, some are DC, and usually they have these plugs over here. And then I said, okay, I've got this huge, high current transformer when I was doing all this prototype, and I said, I really don't need that. I should save that for another day when I do need a high current 12-volt DC adapter, and let's take one with a lower current. And I did. I found another one, 12 volts DC, same plug, everything. And I plugged it in, and I blew my chip. And that's another thing that I knew about, but I didn't check. And at most cases, when you have this plug over here, the outer layer of this is the negative, and the positives, the tab that goes in there, which makes sense. You want the negative on the outside that's showing. But not all adapters are made that way. Some are the opposite, and that was the case with this one. And it's actually labeled. Had I, thought to look, which I should have known better, it's actually labeled that says, this is the positive, that's the ground, the negative. So anyhow, I blew my chip. I didn't have a socket. Had to unsolder it, which is a pain in the butt. This time I put in a socket, put in a new chip, and back them up and running again. Now, the boards I use for that are these that I picked up many years ago. Addison's Montreal. I think they were like 50 cents or a quarter back in the day. This probably goes back, early 80s for sure, maybe even back in the 70s when I was doing a lot of prototypes. And I thought I had no problems getting that in there because it's such a, large kit. What I really didn't think about it, and once this room is in, look how, it takes a lot of space. And it's going to be a tighter fit than I thought. So I think I'm still okay, but I'm going to have to do some fiddling around. What I wanted to do is just get one of these boards in here, glued in place, maybe just with hot glue or whatever, and then have that circuit board lay on top of it, just to give it something to hold on to, and then something that I can screw in afterwards as I'm doing all the painting and things like that. So hopefully I can trim this down. I've already looked at it. I will be trimming it down because, again, depending on the path of the copper and, all this stuff over here, I can, cut that out. I actually made another jumper wire going under the pot over here just so that I can trim off some more. So it'll be smaller than this. It should fit. And the rest are just these, resistors for the other LEDs, which should be okay. I could put that in someplace else, or maybe fit them on the board. I'll see about that. So the only other thing I should mention is I did make the hole for this over here, so that'll be nice in there. I did not put a switch on the thing itself, but either I'll have a switch under here, maybe not. Maybe it's just one of those that look, when you plug it in, it works. So I just got to use, putty that one up, glue it in place, and I'll be okay over there. It's going to be quite tricky getting, the electronics in place as you're, putting it together, and then I'll probably have to have the wires hanging out and then drop it in here and then, do the connection in here. But, I mean, there's plenty of room for the wire. It's just that it's a little tricky getting everything in place. That's why I want to have that support for the circuit board, so I could have most of the stuff over here, except for the wires going to the other side where the LEDs are. So again, it's been really slow going. That's, as usual for me, but again, we're making progress, so I'm happy with that. Okay, I've made a lot of progress, mostly on the that room, or the interior, if you want to call it, over here. Not quite finished, still need a little work here, but as you can see, I've got the lights shining through. I've got the throbbing effect over here. Let me show you, it looks a little bit better in the dark, obviously, and you can see how that's, a separate room for that, and it keeps that red throbbing light, not really intruding on the other side. Now this is going to slide in a little deeper, so that gap will be closed and there'll just be the doorway through for that. Now you can see I did the bookshelves in the back, painted all the ornaments on the top. Still needs a little small touches over there. You can see, put the pelican, I put the tub, piano. I built a table and I went a little overboard. I actually made some candles. I don't know if they're not quite in focus over here, but put that there. And I put the paintings on the wall. I put Mary Shelley over here on that side there. The Montgolfier picture there. This is a little short. I might actually have to replace that because it's a little short for the frame that was there. I put some Molotov chrome for that kind of like a mirror in the back. And there's a Captain Nemo on that side of the wall that goes to the adjoining room. And, oh, don't worry about that, just the wire that popped out. And I just want to show that I put the picture of, the classic Nautilus on that side over there. It's a little out of focus, but it looks nice. Again, just a little more work on that, and I think I'm okay. I did trim down the size of the printed circuit board over here, so it should fit in nicely. And I did, I painted the body with the gunmetal, and it looks, very, very, very nice. And all the other parts, I got them up there, on the trees. So if I'm lucky, I won't have to, when I join them, if it's a nice clean joint, I hope I don't have to putty it up. And again, it is supposed to be like a, pieced together from metal, so it shouldn't matter as long as the seam line is clean. So, again, now I think most of the hard work is done. It should be fairly easy to finish the rest if everything fits together. So we'll update soon. All right, before I do all the final soldering, it's always test, and test again to make sure that everything's running. None of the LEDs have burnt out and all that. So I've wired up most of it. There's some things that still need to be soldered, as you can see, but I'm testing it out, and so far it looks good. Everything's lit up just as much as as it should be. There's the strobe, there's the green, there's the blue, there's the lights on the inside. And when we go to the other side over here, we got the blue, the green, and the yellows. So we're looking good, and I think it'll be nice once it's done. I'll also have to check for like leakage inside. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I might do some black paint over some of those areas. I created these little pods, as you can see, for the LEDs, but on the back I used some white styrene, and then I had to hot glue some of that stuff. So again, I'll be putting a little more black paint, but again, there shouldn't be interference with, let's say, the room, because that's all enclosed except for the LEDs themselves. So looking good. Hopefully everything stays the same. Alright, I just want to show how I put it all together. There's like tons of wires in this thing, as you saw in some of the other videos, and it's actually quite heavy right now. But I got it all wired up, and what I had to slowly do is like move things around inside to get the the two wires coming out here. This is still not glued. I just want to show what the seam is going to be like. And the bottom's not too bad, and I don't care too much about the bottom. And the top is not too bad, really. There's going to be some few things that pop into those holes, so I think it's going to be okay as is. All I've got to do now is get that part glued, and then, you know, put in all the inserts and the fins and the things like that, and you know, I made sure all the lights are working, you know, before I do that. And again, even inside I've got, you know, some wrappers and some shrink tubing to, you know, cover all the wired connections and things like that. But it looks nice. So next step is to get those fins on. Okay, here it is, the final product. As you can see, it's all built now, you know, propellers in, all put together. I had a little, you know, it was a tight fit, but I slowly managed to get the two pieces together. I like that the seam is fairly clean, you know, not perfect, but okay. I don't need to go retouch it. You can see the other side over here with the yellow LEDs. One's a little off center over there, and the blue and the green. But I liked it. One thing you should keep in mind, that because it was a snap kit, like all these other fins and, you know, everything, it just snaps into place, although I do glue everything. But because it was a snap kit, there are some places where there's like little air gaps. Now, I don't know if that's intentional or not there, especially in the back there. I don't know if you can see that. They're very small, but again, because this can only be put in afterwards, like you can't build it up and then putty and fill in those gaps. But I think it looks okay. It looks intentional gaps for those fins. So I'm just going to live with it as is. I added a little bit of, you know, dry moss to the base to try to make it look like kelp and seaweed and stuff like that. It was actually harder to glue that stuff in than I thought, because it, you know, flies all over the place. And I said I wouldn't add a switch, but I did add a switch. I found a little small switch in my switch box. And you can barely see it if you're just looking at the model like that. You don't see it, so, which is nice. So I can just, you know, flip it on and flip it off. I did mention I will be presenting the circuits, so you know, here they are right now. And there's two circuits. One is what I call the steady state, and that's for, you know, the white LEDs, the green, the blue, and the yellows on the side here. And that's one circuit, just, you know, resistors and LEDs really going to the power source. And then the other one is the 555 timer. That's for that throbbing LED. I'm showing them as separate circuits, but they both come, you know, there's one switch for both of them. They're just branching off. It's same 12 volt supply and same 12 volts and same switch, and then it just branches off to both circuits. But I wanted to keep them separate because I was building them separate, basically. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to have a little, you know, video at the end, especially like in darker, so you can really see, you know, that interior. I do think it came out really nice. I'm very happy with it. And it does come with this cover, which is, you know, you know, you can't see the stuff as clear, but it does, you know, it's the same markings as the submarine. And what's nice about this is you really do need a dust cover for that, because once the dust gets in, you're not going to get it out. So, you know, when it's just on display on my shelf, that will be covering it up so I don't get dust in there. So I hope, you know, you like the model. And again, this was for Chris Cortel and his channel, which, you know, he would have, I think he would have liked this build, which was kind of the stuff he enjoyed doing. And, you know, and I hope it was informative, as his videos tend to be, where he talks about how he built so many things in the past and where we all learned from his videos. So, a few glamour shots coming up at the end, and I've already picked up a model for our next one, which is going to be a group build. So, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.